Hey guys, John from Hard Luck Garage here. This time we're going to work on the old Chevy Silverado again and try to put some of the pieces back together, so stick around. Alright guys, I'm going to try to make this one look like that one, and I'll get back to you. Alright guys, I got this thing loosely mocked up here, but I wanted to give you an idea of how far this thing got bent. So it might be hard to see. I might actually point you straight up at it. Right there is the hole that it's got to go through, and I need to go like back 2 inches to line up with this body mount hole. I'm looking straight on from the side. You can see like how far back that thing is bent. So like here's the bracket, and it's got to come about over to here in the center. But this right here is why I bought original GM used fender, because it fits right on. Like no gapping, no weird adjusting. Like I'll have to mess with it a little bit, but it was designed to go here and not designed on a computer and, you know, without a truck. So I'm really happy with the way that fits. That's right, I bought the Porta Power. So I'm gonna get into this box and see if this thing can help us out. I've already gone ahead and torn some stuff off the truck. Got that front frame rail exposed again. I might go up to the garage and grab my bumper and my brackets and see if, because everything's gonna have to kind of line up with the bumper brackets, but I'm gonna break this thing open and see what we got in here. Okay guys, I think I got this thing back into the right shape. Over here is the one that's okay, and moving over here is the one that I just bent back. So hopefully there's enough adjustment on this stuff. I had to beat this side a little bit to flatten out this side of the bracket so the bumper bracket can bolt up. I have the bumper bracket right here. I have my new, never used 93 Chevy front bumper, factory GM chrome. I think once that bumper's hung on there, I'm gonna call it for the night. I just wanted to get out here. Had this thing hanging over my head long enough. I just had to get out here and do it. I had the Porta Power sitting here for 3 weeks. Had a few things going on otherwise, but had a little bit of time to get out here, so here we are. Let's see how this bumper fits on here. Well, I'm convinced by this that with all the adjustment slots and whatnots, I should be able to make this thing line up with the body when I'm done. Now this side should hold up the core support relatively where it should go. There's a pretty big hole for adjustment side to side, forward and backward in the core support. So I think as long as my door and my fender line up, my hood and everything lines up, be good to go. So as you guys might be able to see, it's nighttime. I'm tired. this was kind of the goal for my 1 hour special here tonight. See you in a few seconds. Oh, hey guys. I don't know if I ever mentioned it here, but all the music you hear on this channel is original music made by me for this specifically. So if you guys like it, drop a comment. I'd appreciate it. I just wanted to sound a little different than your average YouTube channel, so I made my own music. Also, give my Instagram a follow. I post some behind the scenes stuff over there, as well as things that are a little bit related but a little unrelated. Just stuff that I like, so give that a look if you're interested. Okay guys, it's a new day. Got a different shirt on. I think my plan here is I'm just going to try and put this thing back together and see if everything lines up. I kind of have to put it together in order to find out. So I'm going to try to look for all the bolts. I forgot where I put them a month ago when I tore this thing apart. And we'll see what the movie magic can do for us here in a couple minutes. Okay guys, I threw that sheet metal back on there. Core support back in. And I don't know if my mount is too thick or my little bracket ended up a little high on this side, but my gap ain't so hot down here. So I got a big gap at the bottom and a small gap at the top. I'm gonna try to tighten this body mount bolt down. It kind of ballooned out in the hit. If it sandwiches down, it might be just enough to get everything to line up how it should. So I'm gonna try that, see what happens. Okay, I ended up tightening up that mount as tight as it'll go. It bottomed out on itself, and that just wasn't enough. The gap really didn't change over here at all. So it's wide at the bottom, almost touching at the top. My thought is that since I can get like 2 fingers up to my knuckle in between the frame rail and the bottom of the core support on this side, but on this side I can get just up to about like 1.5 fingers up to my first knuckle. I think that tells me the frame rail is not bent up, but I think my little bracket that comes off the frame needs to be hammered down or pushed around to close that gap up. So maybe I'll pull this bumper bracket out right here and try to get the porta power in there again and see if I can push in on the top and get that mount to come down with everything still together. So I'm going to give that a try with the porta power before I pull all that sheet metal and core support back off. It's easier than pulling it back off and putting it back on 6 different times, and then I'll be able to see in real time like how these gaps close up and change with that mount tight. So that's my plan. I'm going to stick to it till it doesn't work anymore. So I took the, what did I do? This is still on the mount here, down here. I got the porta power in there, sort of pushing on it. It really didn't do anything. So I took the fender and lined it up with the door. There's a gap, pretty regular gap there. And it looks like this side of the core support, it's got to come down about 1/2 inch or so, maybe 3/8. But this surface needs to be underneath this lip, so you guys can kind of see how far off that is. I'm gonna have to move this out of our way again. I might just try to tip it this way. But I think we're gonna need to do some hammering down here on that mount, so I'm gonna get going on that. Kind of try to gauge my height versus this side and see where we end up. Alright, you guys saw I pulled the whole thing back apart again, and I took the biscuit off this side, so I have a bare bracket like the other side. I just have like a angle finding gauge where you can set it and use it to like repeat different angles, usually used in woodworking and stuff. I just have it set here on the frame like that, and if I hold it square to the top of this frame rail and touch it to the top of this one, I got one finger, one knuckle. And let's hop over to the other side and see how far off we are. Okay, here we are on the passenger side, and I'm just gonna flip this way and do the same thing here. Front of the rail, top of the rail. And I don't know if you can see, you probably can see better than me based on where the camera is and where my head would have to go, but I can't fit a single finger in there. I got about one finger I need to go down. So I'm gonna use this as a rough guide before I put the sheet metal on and off 6 more times. But I've got pressure inside here with that port of power, so I'm gonna just try and beat this down, see if it moves, and I'm gonna use this as my guide. And this part shouldn't move in theory, but you know, theories are theories, and you gotta prove them right or wrong. So here we go, we're gonna prove this one right now. I was checking it back and forth while I had it, and this thing is still under the port of power's pressure, but my adjustment got thrown off. I compared it to the other side, got it back to where I've got enough room to put my fingernail right on top of that bracket, and it goes up to my first knuckle, and I think that's good enough for another test fit. So fingers crossed, you know, the channel's called Hard Luck for a reason. Alright, got all the metal back on, and it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. And we're definitely in the neighborhood because everything's looking pretty nice. I think we put it just enough. I think we beat that bracket down just enough, and with the original mount in there tightened up, it brought it right into place. So I think once I get this fender bolted back together, or back on the truck and lined up as best as I can, this hood can get put back on its hinges, and this thing can really start getting put back together. Once I make sure everything is lined up, I'm gonna probably throw the bumper on, make sure the brackets are all sitting right, and throw the grill, make sure everything is like fitting right around the front. If it all fits right, it should be right, and then everything goes back into the puzzle. So next time you see this truck, I probably will have put everything back together off camera, because sometimes I just need to sit and think about stuff, and it ain't that interesting watching a guy sit there and think about stuff. So I'll bring you guys back when I got this thing more together, and maybe we'll get her up on the road and see if she still goes, still does truck stuff, and then we'll see what's next for the old Chevy. But stick around, guys, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, that kind of stuff. I'll have links below. Appreciate you sticking in here. Thanks for watching.